Heaven's Journey to Life. Looking for more of myself. Day 78. To read this post, it must be understood that we're walking this process and blog, Heaven's Journey to Life, multidimensionally, which means each post covers one dimension, but is interconnected into and as multidimensions in our process of walking the point in question of who I am and how this I created and manifested this entire physical existence. Thus suggested to read this blog from day one, as many of the points in previous dimensions and days and posts are always brought through into the next days and dimensions and posts, as all the dimensions interconnect as the multidimensionality we've created and manifested as our separation as energy and consciousness from and of life and equality and oneness. Thus, if one is faced with this post and have not yet read this blog from day one, suggests that self first start from day one, as otherwise one will have no context of many dimensions that is walked in this post that has been dealt with in detail in previous posts. In this post, we're going to have a look at our very existence as eternal damnation and how the fear and warning of God and consciousness and energy authority to its Eve, Adam, and devil existence ensured and secured its survival and fear of loss in and as its Garden of Eden in energy, where we had come to exist as that very God and consciousness and energy authority, fear and warning of eternal damnation of and as energy itself, if and as we as energy would stop the existence of our separation and in fact be and become equal and one with ourselves as energy, mind, the physical body, and this physical existence as substance and life. In this, have a look at why and how we deliberately accept and allow our existence of separation, managed and maintained within and as fear of loss, to in our relationship as energy to substance so ensure and secure we do not go and manifest and be and become equality and oneness. I forgive myself that I hadn't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand from the beginning to now in equality and oneness, with and as energy and substance, the mind and the physical, the sound, energy, and physical symbolism within and as the story of the Bible with the relationship between God, Adam, and Eve, and the awareness that developed of themselves and their physical bodies and each other in equality and oneness, and how this point revealed that, before eating from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they were actually in separation from themselves, their bodies, and each other, that God's own creation was in separation from themselves, their bodies, each other, and the environment. And so with us within ourselves, from the beginning as manifested singularities to now as human beings, existent as God and energy authority in the beginning, and God and consciousness and energy authority as the mind, we as God, in our existence as God, consciousness, and energy authority, is the one that is controlling our own separation from ourselves, within ourselves, from the physical body, and so from other human beings, and so from this entire physical existence as a whole. As this story in the Bible is in fact existent as a living condition and acceptance and allowance of and as each human being as the mind and consciousness in the acceptance and allowance of who we are and will be, and so have become and remained. That this separation imprinted and manifested and existed from within and as our relationship to the mind, our beingness, and our physical body, as this warning of and as ourselves as God and consciousness and energy authority, of trapping and enslaving us into and as the Garden of Eden and energy, over and of which our God and consciousness and energy authority is guardian, that only guard its and our own existence of and as energy, and ensuring that we do not stand, be and become equal to and one with God, consciousness, and energy authority, the entire mind, to our beingness and the physical body. To in this equality and oneness see, realize, and understand that relationship between energy, mind, to substance and physicality, and that we in fact manifested this relationship within and between energy and substance as ourselves, and thus within this, seeing, realizing, and understanding, the existence of energy and substance is in fact ourselves, only in different forms, expressions, and manifestations, as outflows of and as separation. That we deliberately maintain and manage our existence of separation into and as the God and consciousness and energy authority, existence as energy, as the mind, as ourselves, within and as fear of loss, as eternal damnation, to deliberately not stand, be and become equal and one here. The question within this is why? Why did we deliberately create, manifest, accept, and allow an existence of energy in separation from equality and oneness as here? I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to inequality and oneness with and as energy and substance, the mind and the physical from the beginning to now, remembered, seen, realized, and understood how, as long as we exist in this fear and warning of eternal damnation within our own minds and self as energy, when and as we would stand, be, and become equal to and one in fact, accepting and allowing ourselves as separation, as our very starting point, to exist within our relationship as energy and substance. Everything we create, from within ourselves to the without of ourselves, will exist in the direct image and likeness of this starting point of separation within and between energy and substance, as came to be as the separation of ourselves from substance into the very devil existence of ourselves, to the Adam existence, to the Eve, and to the God and consciousness and energy authority, where we manifested ourselves and who we are as substance and here in equality and oneness and separation, because we externalized our existence in the search and seeking for the more of and as ourselves, instead of from the beginning as substance, realizing, seeing, and understanding our equality and oneness here. And interestingly enough, we created the illusion of moreness as energy, where from the negative to the neutral and to the positive, the energies accumulate into moreness, and even reached an optimum moreness, when and as the two manifested singularities merge together within that oneness, or and presence manifestation, and the equality experienced accumulation and moreness of and as the externalized positive energy experience interpretation. And so, because we from the beginning manifested ourselves within the starting point of searching and looking for that more, we thus manifested that more as energy accumulation, and lost ourselves within and as our own creation and manifestation of and as energy itself, as our very creation and manifestation of moreness as energy is ourselves, that we created and manifested ourselves into and as in separation. And so because our creation and manifestation was and is ourselves, we thus became it, equal and one. Because it was ourselves that we were separating and creating and manifesting, and so we become equal and one, what we create and manifest, always remaining here with who and what we accept and allow ourselves to be, become, manifest, and create, to where we are now, still existent within and as that starting point definition of searching for the more, in our separation within and between the energy and substance, the mind and the physical, where that moreness now had come to manifest within and as various ways, methods, and means, in accumulating more energy within ourselves as the mind. And so our entire existence as the mind had just become about searching for and looking for that more in any and all ways, means, and methods possible, which reflect the current existence of who we are, have become, and remained from within and as the beginning. And so in this, I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to, from the beginning to now, inequality and oneness within as energy and substance, the mind and the physical, seen, realized, and understood how and why the story in the Bible is existent as each human being as the mind, where we exist in fear of and as consciousness and energy authority within ourselves, remaining within the Garden of Eden and energy as the mind consciousness system, in separation from and of ourselves, our physical bodies, and this physical existence as a whole, in fear of eternal damnation if we would stand, be, and become equal to and one with ourselves as the mind, the physical body, and so this physical existence as a whole. Within this deliberate acceptance and allowance of our existence of and as fear and fear of loss, in fact, being that we don't want to give up, let go of our existence of separation as energy itself, that we protect, defend, and guard within and as fear and fear of loss, that is deliberately keeping us separate from and of our equality and oneness with and as here. Not seeing, realizing, and understanding what is in fact fearing eternal damnation is God, consciousness, and energy authority itself as ourselves, because as long as we maintain our existent separation within ourselves, within and as fear and fear of loss, God, consciousness, energy authority can continue existing. Thus, this fear and warning of eternal damnation, God and consciousness and energy authority superimposed onto and towards ourselves in and as the mind, making us believe that it is us that will be eternally damned if we stand, be, and become equal and one. But it is in fact God and consciousness and energy authorities as energies fear within and as itself. Because if we'd become equal and one, energy and so God and consciousness would cease to exist. And so we had accepted and allowed ourselves to enslave ourselves into and as a fear of eternal damnation and loss existent as our very existence as energy, with energy itself within its very starting point existing as fear and fear of loss, in the devil, atom, and unconscious mind existence of the manifested singularities in mind, in consuming substance and physicality to transform into energy the moment we reach that negative energy experience that will instigate and motivate our movement and forward and inward to accumulate our energies and so survive as energy. And so we, as the very nature of energy, from our lowest hierarchy as the devil, atom, unconscious mind, to the highest hierarchy as God, energy, authority, is existing in fear and fear of loss as energy itself, which we ourselves created and manifested ourselves into and as energy. We created and manifested ourselves as energy as well as the fear and fear of loss nature of and as it, where the very fear and fear of loss in ensuring, protecting, and defending our relationship of separation within and between energy and substance, to always continue existing and surviving as energy itself, the moreness of and as ourselves. I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand, well, when all the while this process is in reverse, from the perspective that within existing in and as the very nature of and as energy as fear and fear of loss of eternal damnation and non-existence, guarding, protecting, and defending our existence in the Garden of Eden and energy, we had become the very existent and living manifestations and beings of eternal damnation within fear and fear of loss, that had internally and externally manifested in the existence of damnation within our separation from the within of ourselves to the without of ourselves. In this separation, the damnation manifesting as the consequences we now experience internally in the existence of the relationship with ourselves as the mind, and the consequences we now experience externally in the existence of and as this physical existence. We've become damnation and fear, and so internally and externally manifested damnation and fear. We've become separation, and so internally and externally manifested separation. I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to inequality and oneness with energy and substance, the mind and the physical from the beginning to now, seen, realized, and understood, how within and as our very internal existence from the beginning existent as separation in the relationship between energy and substance, as the starting point of me within myself, as the very manifested singularity in my existence and relationship between energy and substance, moving my awareness more into and as my existence as energy, as it provided me within the initial starting point of that search and seeking for, and as the more of and as me that I created and manifested as energy of and as me. And in that created and manifested the optimum and ultimate more of and as me as energy, as God and consciousness and energy, authority, awareness, and to ensure and secure my new creation and manifestation of my newfound moreness of and as energy, I created and manifest the fear and fear of loss relationship of me as energy to substance within myself to ensure that I never lose my existence and moreness of and as energy itself, but maintain that relationship between energy and substance as energy consumes substance to transform into energy. As energy consume and possess me and my awareness into and as itself, and ensure I remain existent as energy, because in the energy I get, have, and possess and own my moreness. And so I had to accept and allow myself to accept and allow and reference as fear of loss within and as the starting point of my relationship as energy to substance, whenever I get to a point where I may and might lose my moreness and search and seeking, to ensure and secure I remain within my existence of searching and seeking and becoming my moreness. In this, I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand where and how I, from the beginning, internally and externally, created this moreness within the context of, in and as that moment, I, as substance and existence, manifested the question as me. There must be more than here. There must be more than me as here, which in that moment manifested me into and as more me's. There must be more than me here, as the manifested singularities, and within and as the more me's externally, manifested the more experience of me within and as myself as energy. There must be more than here. Not seeing, realizing, and understanding that for the more of me to exist structurally as the manifested singularities, I was in fact separating myself as substance and existence of and as equality and oneness into and as an illusion of moreness, as all the me's of manifested singularities came to manifest in existence, because all of what I created is still me, but in and as separation, innumerable amounts of separate parts manifested together in one existence, creating an illusion of moreness, because it is and never has been more. It's always still been me in separation from and of myself here. And so, all manifested singularities of and as me from the beginning to human beings now is in fact parts of and as me I had separated me into and as. And simultaneously, in that moment of manifesting the more of me structurally in form as the manifested singularities coming from and of and as me, as parts of me in and as separation, creating an illusion of moreness of me as more me's, so came the internal experience of moreness as the more of here, and there must be more than here, as an illusion manifested as energy is existent as a separated form of substance, where the more and more and more substance is separated from itself and consumed into energy, the more and more and more energy accumulate, not seeing, realizing, and understanding that even energy is of and as me as substance, where I am creating me as substance into an experience, an illusion of moreness, within and as separating myself as substance into and as energy, over and over and over again, accumulating myself as substance into, through, and as energy within and as that ultimate and optimum positive energy experience internally and externally. Now, within this, I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to inequality and oneness with and as energy and substance, the mind and the physical, from the beginning to now, remembered, seen, realized, and understood, as I, as substance, separated myself into the more of me in the search and seeking of the more of me that manifested as the manifested singularities. My equal and one awareness shifted and moved into and as equal and one separation, into and as all the individual manifested singularities. Because the moment I manifested the manifested singularities, I separated me into and as those manifestations of and as manifested singularities, as I became me as what I created and manifested me to be, which so developed and manifested the awareness within and as each individual manifested singularity that conceived itself as individualized and separate from and of the whole in existence, not seeing, realizing, and understanding that each individual manifested singularities is in fact me, part of and as whole. But the moment I created and manifested separation as my starting point of separation and searching and seeking for the more of me, the more of here, so the very existence of each manifested singularity as me manifested as separation, with an awareness existent only within the context of its own existence as a manifested singularity. And so I separated me from equality and oneness into and as innumerable amounts of manifested singularities of separation, existent within and as their own awareness unto themselves only, where I had from that moment started interacting as all the me's as manifested singularities in separation, as each manifested singularity as me did not see, realize, and understand its existence and relationship of equality and oneness with itself, existence, and all the rest of the manifested singularities, as its each one's very existence and awareness was separation. And so, I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to remember, see, realize, and understand. I, in one moment, within one starting point of searching for and looking for more as here and more of me, thus created and manifested it as me. With the more as here, manifesting in the relationship between energy and substance within each manifested singularity's here manifestation within themselves, that accumulate the here as substance into the energies of the negative, to the neutral, and to the positive, as the more of here. And so, manifested the more of me as innumerable amounts of manifested singularities that still to this day exist as is as human beings. As throughout time, what I had created is variations of more as here, as energy experience accumulation, and more as me, as human forms, shapes, and designs, where within and as the very existence of my separation into and as the manifested singularities and energies being me, and with my starting point existent in more of here and more of me, so did the manifested singularities as me awareness develop and manifest within that equal and one starting point of searching for and looking for the more of here and the more of me. And so their awareness manifested into and as the search and seeking for the more of here as energy and the more of me that eventually came to manifest as children and copies being born from human beings, where I, in and as the manifested singularities in human beings, existence of and as me can continue having the more of here as experiencing energy and the more of me as I continue duplicating, copying, continuing my existence automatically with young ones and children being born into and as existence. And so I created and manifested my more within and without, within and as a separation in the searching and seeking for and as that more of me and more of here, which still exists and continue existing to this day as the primary reason and purpose for and of all of ourselves and existence as a whole, as we are all in fact equal and one from the exact same point of origin as substance and existence, and that each part and being and manifestation and expression is in fact me that I had separated myself into and as, that is continuing the search and seeking fulfillment of and as the more of here, the more of me. I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to, from the beginning to now, inequality and oneness within as energy and substance, the mind and the physical, remember, seen, realized, and understood how I had become what I had created, as my very creation is me. And so I became the separation of me as all the manifested singularities. And so the energy within and as it, in my search and seeking for the more of me, the more of here, which each one as the manifested singularities of me had become, and what energy itself as me had become, searching and seeking for that moreness and experience and existence of and as ourselves that's become the very foundation of everything and everyone as me, and that thus it is my responsibility to assist and support all as me, to see, realize, and understand that we, as I have done and become in our separation from ourselves as substance, life, equality, and oneness, in the existent separation of searching and seeking for the more of ourselves, and the consequences this has created and manifested in existence, and still does, as each individually within and without just seek and search for the more of itself, for itself, and itself alone. Not seeing, realizing, and understanding that this moreness, searching and seeking and manifesting in existence of ourselves in the mind and the physical body, only came to manifest because we didn't realize from the beginning the eternal life of here as ourselves. Not seeing, realizing, and understanding that this moreness is not in fact real, but an illusion, because the moreness only exists the more we separate ourselves as substance into energy, and the more we separate ourselves into creating and manifesting more duplicates and copies of ourselves. That we've been searching and seeking for that moreness in separation of ourselves, creating ourselves into separation within manifested singularities and energy, now as human beings, as the mind, everyone and everything searching for that moreness, but never satisfactorily finding it, because we cannot find it, because it's always been here as ourselves in equality and oneness. And so because our existence started with the question, there must be more than here, there must be more than me as here, this is what we created and manifested and became living and being and becoming this question into eternity, always and forever, trying and attempting to answer and manifest this question into and as existence as ourselves, trapping and enslaving ourselves within and as our own starting point, looping throughout existence within this one point. There must be more than here. There must be more than me. Not seeing, realizing, and understanding that as long as we exist as this question and point as starting point, looping within this one point as ourselves, we can never find, be, and become this moreness, because the very starting point in question itself is in separation, externalized from and of ourselves as here, that we'll thus forever and always search and seek for the moreness within and without, because we're existing as ourselves, as that very searching and seeking for and of the moreness of and as ourselves. Thus, the answer and key to existing is giving up the moreness, existence, searching, and seeking of ourselves within our internal and external reality, and move ourselves into and as here, as the physical body, as breath, to finally see, realize, and understand how we've been looping ourselves in existence within this one point of searching and looking for the more externally, when that more, as eternity, as life, has and is always been right here, as ourselves in equality and oneness. We'll, in the next post, continue having a look at more specifically the manifested consequences we created regarding the extents and the lengths we have gone to from the beginning to now in search and seeking for this moreness of ourselves in our within and without, that we've become as the very living of ourselves as what we created and manifested ourselves to be and become, searching and seeking for the more, continuing separating ourselves more and more, and the more we search and seek for this moreness, never stopping and considering and asking the question, but why do I not accept me as who I am and realize me as who I am here, already as that which I am searching for and looking for out there, when all that in fact exists is me, that I have been searching for and looking for me, when I have always in fact been right here. I commit myself to show how we had from the beginning as substance created our relationship as energy to substance, now existent as the mind's relationship to the physical, within and as the starting point of searching and seeking for the more of ourselves within and without, that has now become our internal existence as energy, within and as the very living of ourselves as the mind, that only exists to search and seek for its fulfillment and moreness of and as energy and our external existence in producing copies and duplicates and more of ourselves that had come to manifest as the generations of children coming from and of us, that internally and externally we're existing to produce this more of here as energy and the more of ourselves as children coming into existence, not seeing, realizing, and understanding that because we're existing in the very starting point of searching and seeking for the more, this is all that we've become, done, and lived, and will and can never find and satisfy and fulfill this more, because we're always in all ways searching for it, looking for it in the within and without of ourselves, that our entire existence had just become about this search and seeking. Everything we created as ourselves from the beginning only existed within this one point of searching and seeking, always infinitely, eternally seeking and searching, in the very search of seeking and never finding. Because the moment one search and seek for something and someone, one is in that moment separating self from here into there, within the T as choice self had made, from and of self as here, as separate self from here, within and as T as choice, as the decision we made to search and seek for ourselves from here. And so we've eternally existed there in the T as choice, as separation from here, and searching and seeking for the more of ourselves, the more of here. And thus, now it is the process of stopping the searching and seeking of the more of ourselves and the more of here, within changing the T as choice that has led us away from here into an as there, as searching and seeking for ourselves, and realize we're here, that our equality and oneness is here as ourselves and not there in separation from and of ourselves. I commit myself to show how the more we search and seek for ourselves internally and externally, the more we in fact separate ourselves from the within and without of and as ourselves, creating more energies and energy experiences. We're in that more creating of energies and experience, the more we in fact separate ourselves from our beingness, the physical body and this physical existence, as for energy to be its moreness. The more substance, our beingness and physical body, has to be separated and broken down and diminished for energy to manifest its moreness. And the more we create of and as ourselves as the generations of children coming into this existence, being duplicates and copies as more of ourselves and not realizing they are in fact from and of us and thus equal to and one with who we are enslaving more of ourselves as children that become individuals always searching and seeking the more of themselves within and without, and continuing the process of separating themselves within and without as the more they search and seek for themselves, and so continue proliferating separation within existence as me. In this, I commit myself to show each one, either here or in the hereafter, how we had become the living manifestation of separation as the search and seeking of the more of ourselves, and the consequences that had manifested for ourselves and all, as ourselves, as we'd become possessed with only finding and fulfilling this individualized internal and external moreness. Everyone existing just to fulfill this moreness, and each one creating and manifesting more and more and moreness of and as separation, because for moreness to exist, more of ourselves in the within and without as ourselves has to go into separation, as our beingness and physicality is transformed into energy, separated into more and more energy, as this physical existence is separated, consumed, transformed into money for the more and more and more money to exist, more physical consequences and separation has to manifest. And thus, how, in our search and seeking for more, creating and manifesting the illusion of more in the within as energy and the without as money, we ourselves in the within and without as ourselves have in fact become less and less and less, because in creating, getting, and having and possessing the more, we had to take from and of ourselves as substance and physicality, as the consequences that manifested in reality of the physical body and this physical existence, for the illusionary experience of more energy and money to exist. That to manifest ourselves in this existence into and as equality and oneness, we have to stop our accepted and allowed separation, within as energy and mind, and the without as the world system of money, and stabilize ourselves within ourselves into and as equality and oneness within and without. So we stop existing in this taking and giving of less and more as energy consuming substance in our physical bodies, in money consuming this physical existence for the illusion of more to exist, that we give to ourselves, as we take from ourselves as ourselves, that we've been giving and taking from and of ourselves, giving ourselves the illusion of more as energy, by taking from ourselves as substance, giving ourselves the illusion of more as money, by taking from ourselves as this physical existence. In this, how we have all individually and together created and manifested our internal consequences of separation as the mind's relationship to this physical body and this world system of money's relationship to this physical existence, giving and taking within more and less, fucking ourselves within and without in this search and seeking for more, instead of realizing our equality and oneness here.